Welcome to TradersArmy.com, defending your right to build wealth and preserve capital for generations to come.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's edition of the Daily Market Commentary. It is the 21st of August, 2019. It is a gorgeous day where I happen to be. I'm actually traveling with the family in beautiful Denver, Colorado, hanging out, looking at the mountains, looking at the sunrise. It's a beautiful day, and the markets are up 21 points today as we are rolling in the S&P. For those of you new to the channel, do me a favor, smash that like button, hit the subscribe, notification bell, any of that fun stuff, just so that you get the alerts as they happen. If you're a regular, you know that we look at the same 10 to 12 futures markets every day. Identifying potential breakouts and reversals. So let's dive in. All right, first thing to look at today is the S&P. Now we're up 22 points this morning. We had talked yesterday about a potential breakout above this line here if we based enough in front of it. But we did sell off, actually. We sold off and came right back to the origin of the Sunday night move, where we saw a bit of a rally. Now, depending on where you put your lines, you may or may not have gotten filled on this position. I had my lines a little bit lower, so there was no fill on that position. If you can see, it was quite literally the low on this candle was 28.93, and my line here was 28.92. So about a point away from getting filled, which supremely frustrating when that happens. But that happened in the overnight session, and so throughout the day, the market sold off pretty hard on the latest news of an inversion, but ultimately, nothing fundamentally changed, and we rallied up in the overnight hours pretty hard after the end of the day move. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this level as it is, but I'm now going to switch it to a confirmation entry. And also I want to start to consider, even on a 15-minute time period, this little run that we had here in the overnights, right at the European market open, in case we get a pullback into this range. We had this little run here during the European market open that I think could get retested. So I'm going to wrap my lines around that area. Now, the S&P, we are a little bit below on the 60-minute chart. We are a fair bit below this breakout high, which was off of the Sunday, or excuse me, the sell-off from last week. The NASDAQ is actually a bit stronger. So when looking at a breakout, I think the NASDAQ is actually the better play today. If still looking for the breakout above this region, I think the NASDAQ it gives you the better opportunity and the better run to continue to march a bit higher. So if you're looking at a position, I think the NASDAQ ultimately makes a bit more sense. Very much similar to the S&P, we have a reversal candle, but this one actually shows up on the hourly chart a bit better than it does on the S&P. All right, next, crude oil. So in crude oil, we didn't talk about adding any new levels yesterday, and we stayed between our levels for the most part. And so really nothing to speak of since we stayed in between our zones. When I look at what we are doing right now, once again, none of these levels of supply or demand excite me enough to risk my money, right? That's really ultimately what it comes down to. Do any of those levels excite me well enough to be able to risk my hard-earned capital? And the answer to that is no. I'm going to wait for some of these extreme levels to come into play. Gold yesterday, for those of you that took the supply level, gold worked out pretty well. We got a little bit of a move away, and then in the overnight, we've actually gotten a much stronger move away as the S&P has gained some momentum. So I'm going to remove this level. Leave me in the comments below if you're able to catch that gold move. I would normally wrap my lines around this area up here, but the fact that that it's a reaction to the area to the left, I'm going to leave it be. And very similarly to what we have the upside breakout in the markets, I'm going to put this level down here for potential downside breakdown in gold, right, with the target being somewhere down in here. Next are bonds and currency markets. Stop me if you've heard this one before. The bond market is between major levels of demand and supply and hasn't really given us a trade opportunity. And the reason I say stop me if you've heard that before is because we've talked about it a lot. Now, I am going to add, this is not a great time of day at all. 6 o'clock, not a good time of day, but I like the structure of this level right here, so I'm going to add that one in for today. The Aussie has not really done anything, still just going sideways, so nothing to add here in the Aussie. And in the Euro, we kept this breakdown line and this breakout to the upside. So yesterday we did get a bit of a fake out on the breakdown here, but then we broke back above the other area. So what does that tell me? A lot of sideways price action. As we are, we're just kind of moving between those fair price value areas. So I'm going to remove all of them, and now I'm going to be more cognizant of and looking for potential reversals. Right now, in a big picture sideways trend direction, it's harder to catch any of those. So we've got to have our wider zones in play. Canadian dollar, we had a confirmation entry set up in the Canadian dollar. Since this one gave us a touch and go, and then we based below the level, which completely invalidates the zone. So the Canadian dollar, this zone was completely invalidated because of the basing below the level, and now we are rocketing up in the Canadian dollar. Remember, this was our breakdown short from earlier this week, and since we're rocketing straight up at this point in time, we've got a level of supply here up above us. We're coming into that with a fair amount of speed. When I look at this on the 4 hour, if this level breaks, then I think we could be seeing a definitive change in trend direction. So keep an eye on that level as we come into that zone. Great British Pound, Japanese Yen, whereas the Canadian dollar had basing before the level, which invalidated the zone, the Great British Pound just completely blew right through our zone. So the Great British Pound was a small stop out on that position relative to the amount of reward that it set up for, and we really came to this area up here and kind of double topped a little bit, and are now selling off pretty strong on a 4 hour time period. Once again, not a whole lot happening here, a little bit of sideways price action, so I'm going to leave this one be as well. If you notice, we're doing that with a lot of currencies, and the Japanese yen, the same story. Japanese yen possibly could be a breakdown below this area here, but not until we get there. So, it's a large part of trading is hurry up and wait, and that's what we have to do today, is to be patient and wait for levels to come into our setup. So hopefully that helps you get your day off on the right foot. If you have any questions, please send us an email, support@tradersarmy.com. Remember, tonight is our live Q&A session for Traders Army subscribers, so I look forward to seeing you in our live Q&A sessions. Make sure your microphones are working, and then we can make sure that we get you the best support we can. So I will talk to you soon. Have a great day. See you.